To questions.
Well, one, it's great to see everyone here. I want to thank you all for coming out and really looking forward to the start of a new season. The time is coming. Our guys have been working very hard. Excited to see, us get out on the floor, with people in the stands because I know they're looking forward to that too. We've done a lot of working together, a lot of practicing, competing against each other, but like any young player, and I remember those days, you want to get out and start competing against other people. So I know they're looking forward to it, and I know we are as coaches as well.
Coach, it seems like every year we talk about it's a brand new roster, so you have to get to know a new team. Is there a formula now that works in the age of the transfer portal, kind of speed along that process so the chemistry starts to build?
Well, I think it's important for you to, stay with your standards. Everyone has a system that they run. I know we do. And, with that in mind, you try not to compromise some of those values that you've established. And so it's important that you take advantage of your summers, take advantage of your fall. It's hard to give the habits that you want a young man to have in 9 months, because that's how long you have a lot of these student athletes now. But you can instill some of the things that you do well. I just think you need to keep it more simple and simplify things a little more so that they aren't having to go into depth, but they're getting the foundational things and the fundamental things that they need to be successful with.
Coach, you mentioned brand new roster. That's been the key the past few seasons, but there's one key difference, not having Darius Johnson. Does that feel like a new challenge for you? No,
definitely a new challenge, especially at the point guard spot. Having someone that I've been able to rely on at that position for a number of years. It's rare these days who will have a player like Darius. He may be the last player, like that. And so it was great having him for all 4 seasons. So now what you want to do is you want to try to recruit guys that fit your system. We think we're able to do that and find guys that, maybe had some experience. And so once they learn who I am and what I expect, I think they'll be able to go out there and compete at a high level for us. And so that's what we looked to do this season, was find guys that maybe had some experience, that could come in, who's played the position, has some success, and then try to instill our system and install our system with that new player.
Coach, you have 2 pairs of teammates that both transferred here together from the transfer portal. You got the Mississippi State pair and then the Milwaukee pair. Is that something that kind of happened on their side with the portal, or more your side as far as bringing someone they're already familiar with from their school?
Well, it gave us instant chemistry. Having those guys come in, you talk about losing all of your, roster, which we did. Having a few guys come in that have played together, at least those players, there's some familiarity. And so in both cases, I think both sets of players have really helped us in that regard because they know each other. Even though they come from a different system, you can see there's a feel amongst them from having been in practices together, having been in games together. So absolutely it's something that's worked out for us. We weren't planning on doing that, but I think it's been a positive, for us with regards to so far to how we've practiced.
Coach, a couple seasons now in the Big 12, how has it changed the type of player that you're looking at and adding?
Well, we're growing along with, learning the league, and part of that is just gaining experience. And so we found that we were, one of the smaller teams in our conference physically over the last several years. So we tried to, get a little more length, a little more physicality to face the teams that we have to play against, throughout the league play. You get beat up pretty good in this league. It's very physical, and I think that's took its toll on us the last couple of seasons. So we tried to size up in some of our positions, get more length, a little more weight. And I think that's been a positive thus far, this early in the preseason. So I'm hoping that continues to carry over, just having the size to match up on a nightly basis in this conference.
How have these players adjusted to the type of defense you like to play?
You know what? They've taken to it. We're not where we're going to be, of course, and we shouldn't be right now, but I think they're working towards what we want. They understand the importance of every defensive possession. It starts with that, and then they have to understand the technique and positioning of where they need to be consistently. But I do like their attitude from the standpoint they want to compete defensively. They want to, they want to do it, and so that's a very important part for any player, is that willingness to buy into what we're trying to do. And most of these players come from scoring. And so when you get a lot of players that have scored, throughout the years in any program, the toughest thing to teach them to understand the importance of how hard you have to defend on a nightly basis to be successful consistently. And these players are starting to figure that out, through competitive practices and our workouts, starting to figure out how important it is to be very good on the defensive end.
Coach, although the first game of the season is an exhibition game, it's back to your old stomping grounds at Duke. So how excited are you to go back?
I'm excited, but more importantly, I'm excited because of our players. I think it gives them an opportunity to have a great experience, to play in an arena like Cameron. It should be a terrific crowd. I think it should be very hostile, and that's what I want our guys to play in. I want them to experience that because I think that's how they grow. And so to start off with a game like that, for us, I think it's great. For me personally, I'm looking forward to it. It's the first time I've been back there since I was coaching. And so we're talking about almost 20 years ago since the last time I've been back there in Cameron. So in that regard, I'm looking forward to it, from my perspective. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to it for our players to have an experience. These are one of those places when you play a game like that in that environment, they'll remember for the rest of their lives, whether it's an exhibition game, preseason game, or regular season game. They're always going to remember it. And there are things that they'll be able to draw upon from that after having played a game like that.
Is it strange to have the Cameron Crazies rooting against you?
Yeah, that'll be different. That'll be the first time in my career that that's ever happened, on their court anyway. But like I said, looking forward to it. I think there are a lot of things that we will benefit from as a team and as a program from having that type of a game on our schedule.
What are some of the maybe unexpected challenges or things maybe you didn't see coming with as far as retention is concerned, the conversations you have with players and with their representatives as far as trying to keep a roster, keep a player year upon year?
Well, that's going to be a challenge for everyone now. Just the way the game is set up now for our student athletes, they're going to have the ability to move around, and players are going to exercise that option. They're free agents every year, so every spring and summer they're going to potentially look at what's available for them. And so we have to be prepared. We have to do our best to make sure we retain the players that we think are going to help us continue to succeed. And players that are going to make decisions to do otherwise and go other places, we're going to root for those guys to have success wherever they go. It doesn't change for us. That's where I draw upon, my NBA experience, from the standpoint, your rosters turn over a lot, especially if you're on teams that aren't very successful. And so you may maintain your nucleus, 2 or 3 players that are your stalwarts, your all-stars, but everyone else becomes fairly expendable, and they're looking to change that roster up every year, as well as, in the G League, they're looking to change the roster up every year. So I look at levels like that as we're building our team and look at strategies that those programs use to be successful, and we try to do some of those things as well as far as our program is concerned.
And I wanted to ask you about, to clarify the situations of a couple players that are not on the roster but said at one point, at various points they were committed, one being Arturo Dean and one being BJ Freeman.
Well, I can't really comment on Arturo Dean. He's still, figuring out, what he's going to do. And of course, BJ Freeman, guys are going to make different decisions, and that's okay. It's nothing wrong with, decisions these young people are making. They have the right to do that. We have the right to recruit the players that we want to recruit. They have the right to, go to different institutions they want to attend. So nothing personal from us, which, like I said, wish all those players well. I was one of those players. I just didn't have the freedoms that they have now. And so for me, it just want to get the guys here that want to be here. I love UCF, and I want the players here that love UCF as well. Those are the players I want to coach and I want to be around. And I think we've done that. I think, we've gotten the players here that really want to be a part of UCF and do something special at UCF. And that's all you can ask for.
How important is it to challenge your team with the non-conference schedule?
Very, very important that we challenge our team in the non-conference. I mean, there's no way you can prepare for the Big 12 if you don't play a heck of a preseason schedule. All you do is get knocked back. And so we've always tried to challenge ourselves, no matter where we were within the American Conference or here. If you look at our track record, we've tried to play the most competitive schedule we could in the preseason, and we've done it again this year. We want to play really good teams that are going to prepare us to have success in conference play.
Coach, you mentioned how important size was, being one of the smaller schools. You brought in 5 players over 6'8". Is that something you really tried to focus in on in the transfer portal?
Yeah, we were looking at length. We were looking at getting a little longer. We felt, especially a need based on what we saw last season, as physical it was in the conference, that if we didn't get size up, we spend a lot of time with maybe guys out with injuries, and just the level of physicality was so much that we need to make sure we had Big 12 bodies is what I would like to say, and I think we have more Big 12 bodies on our roster this season.
And just adding on to that, I mean, you lose Mustafa Tion this offseason. You bring in John Bull, another 7'2" player. Is he going to kind of take a similar role in that defensive?
Absolutely. You know, we're excited about John Bull's ability defensively to protect the rim. He's long, he's active. Not the same player as Mustafa. They're two different players, two different people. But, you know, I love his energy. I love how hard he competes. And that's what you want to see. And he's going to continue to just develop and get better for us as the season progresses because he's a hard worker.
Johnny, there's been a push again to expand the NCAA tournament to add more teams. As a coach and a guy who plays on the coaches in the Big 12 where there's a lot of talent, how is that something you're in favor of? Is getting more teams into the NCAA tournament?
I'm definitely in favor of getting more teams in the NCAA tournament. I don't think the tournament has really been expanded since 1986. I think they had to play in now with 4 teams, but officially teams in since 1986. That was my senior year in college, dating myself. So that's a long time ago. I mean, there were times where you had 16 teams in it, and people forget about that. You keep adding Division I teams and programs, but yet your number stays the same as 64, basically. To me, I think you got to be able to expand it. You just do. I think it's tough when you have, 17% of the teams in Division I are able to play in Division I in the NCAA tournament. That's a very, very small number when you think about sports in general around this country. I look at NFL. I look at NBA. I mean, those teams, 2/3 of the NBA now are going to the playoffs. Half of the NFL are going to the playoffs. And yet we're taking 17%, 366 Division I teams, and you're taking 64. Absolutely, I think we should expand. I think most people would agree with that. And now what that number is, that magic number, I don't know. But I'm sure we can figure it out where it makes sense, where you can add some more teams and still have it be one of the best sporting events, and basically in the world. There's nothing like March Madness.
Based off of what we've seen so far in the practices that you've had, clearly you can't tell the future, but what do you think is the biggest change this season that you feel that could affect winning immediately or the fastest?
Well, I think the biggest thing is us to become a better defensive team, and I think we're well on our way to becoming a better defensive team. I thought we were a few possessions away last year, and you have to be better in that area in order to be successful in those possessions, and we just weren't at. I think this year's team, I think they understand the importance of it, and I give our coaches a lot of credit. We have a terrific staff. I think those guys have done a great job this summer and thus far this fall at helping these guys understand exactly what we got to do to be successful on defensive end. They preach it, they work on it every day, and they're developing those habits. Like I said, in 9 months, it's hard to change habits, but so much. But I think in the areas that we're working on, these young men are improving, and we'll be a better defensive team because of their understanding of what we want to get done on the defensive end.
There's obviously been a lot of the roster turnover in the last 2 years. I know it's becoming the norm in college basketball. But what have you learned about coaching the team the last 2 years when this really started to happen, when this kind of massive roster turnover happened? How are you applying that to this team this year?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is, what do we spend time on? You have to spend time on things that are going to actually translate to your success during the season, meaning that before, when you had a young man 2, 3, 4 seasons, you had a chance to watch him grow and develop. By the time he's a junior, he understands exactly what you want defensively or offensively. Now everything is fast forwarded. So I think I mentioned it earlier. I think the only way you can accomplish that is to kind of simplify what you're doing. So therefore, you're concentrating on a few things that we want our guys to be very, very good at, as opposed to a multitude of things that you may have a team that's seasoned. You got these veterans, they're back. This is their 4th year in your program, a la Darius Johnson last year, knew everything. Where maybe, Jordan Ivy Curry, he didn't know as much. Man, it was new for him, and you only had him for the 9 months. So I think that approach where you kind of limit what you're doing, you just understand, okay, what's the most important things, and you just really concentrate on those things as much as you can and try to develop those habits.
Coach, you talked earlier about the physicality in the Big 12. How have you kind of prepared for that? Is there a way to prepare for that? And how do you kind of keep your guys, durable throughout the rest of the season?
Well, 2 things, that you just mentioned. One, I think our preparation is how well we compete in practice every day, how hard we compete. And as far as our durability, that's on us to make sure that we pace our players. Like, we don't want to go into practice and in practice light because we're trying to, we're worried about if we're going to get injured. That's on us to make sure maybe you cut down the amount of time you practice. You still have spirited practice. You still are very, very competitive. But maybe you don't go as long to try to give your guys a chance to make sure they recover and try to, make sure that, they're healthy enough where they don't have any setbacks with injuries that keep them out of practice or games.
Riley's a homecoming for him there. Talk about how he fits to this roster and this team, and do you envision playing with the pace that you did last year, for example, where you play with more pace, more, perimeter shooting?
Well, with Riley, excited about Riley being a part of our program. He's a hometown guy, and he wanted to come back home. He wanted to do something special in his hometown, and I respect him a great deal for that. I love to see young people make decisions like that, and he did. And so we're excited to have him. He's worked very hard. I've watched him continue to get better throughout the months that we've had him here, learning our system. He's getting more and more comfortable. So he's a player that can play multiple positions for us. He really can play anywhere from the 1 through the 3. We're seeing that in him as we've had these workouts. So he's a guy that can really play on the perimeter at any position. And he's a cerebral player. He has a good feel for the game. His is just continuing to grow with our players, getting chemistry and continuity with the guys on his team. But as far as an individual talent, the young man is very, very talented. And I think he's a player that can help us as we go into Big 12 play.
Coach, you touched on Darius Johnson earlier, possibly being the last of a breed. But going into this season, how do you replace that leadership? Is there somebody emerging as the new leader, or is it kind of happening in the aggregate? And if so, who are those guys?
Well, it is happening in the aggregate, like you just mentioned. Right now, our leaders have been chosen by our players, and that's what we typically do at the beginning of a season. We vote on our captains, and I usually look and see who we voted for, and I thought our guys did a great job of choosing the guys who were there every day, guys who were leading with their voices, but also leading with their actions on the court every day in practice, with their energy, with their competitiveness. And so excited about the guys that we have as captain. We have Themis is one of our captains. Devin Cambridge is one of our captains, and Stillwell is one of our captains. We have 3 captains. All 3 of them earned it, and excited about what they can do from that leadership position.
Coach, you mentioned the roster turnaround, and kind of more on a personal level. Does it kind of frustrate you that your kind of job description has changed, that you're not able to develop these guys from freshmen to seniors anymore and see them grow not only as players but as people, and now they're kind of just going wherever they feel best, or sometimes showing that the grass isn't greener?
No, absolutely. That hurts me, because I'm a relationship person. I love my players. I want to see them develop on and off the court, whether it's life skills, whether it's character coaching, all the things we do besides, dribbling and shooting. And so that's tough. It's becoming lost because you don't have the players that long anymore. But I always tell our staff, no matter how long we have them, we're going to pour into them as if they're going to be here for 4 years. So no matter what, we're going to pour into them as if they're here the entire time. And for the ones that'll stay, that's awesome. For the ones that'll leave and make other decisions, like I said, it's not personal. They're making business decisions now, and we have to live with that. But it is challenging because I want to be able to go to their weddings and their significant moments in their lives. I want to be a part of those, and I think it's more and more complicated because of the relationships that are lacking with that you only gain through time. I mean, that trust is built over time, and it's difficult when you have 9 months now. So we're going to continue to pour into them that way. We're not going to give up on it, but it is more difficult.
You returned 0% of the returning scoring from last season. So who are those players that can score the bucket for you that maybe can score in chunks?
Well, for us, we have to score by committee, which means we have a number of guys that are capable of contributing. We have guys that I think, have shown that they're capable of scoring baskets, but I think we're at our best when we're just sharing the basketball, it's finding the open people, and we're playing for each other. That's when we've been at our best this preseason, and that's what I hope we continue to be our best at. So right now I don't have a guy that I'm saying, I'm counting on Keyshawn Hall last year or Darius Johnson. We were so top-heavy with 2 guys that could go get you 40 on any given night. The makeup of our team isn't really that this year. Our makeup of our team is us sharing the basketball, searching out a great shot by ball movement, and I'm confident that whoever gets that ball with the best look is capable of making that shot.
Well, you just mentioned Devin Cambridge was a captain. I know he's anxious probably to get back on the court and show what he can do. What has he shown to you through the preseason and to his teammates to earn that honor?
One, I think, he was one of our highest vote getters, and that's because he comes in every day. He's a very competitive young man. He's a very mature young man. Defensively, he can guard multiple positions. Quite frankly, he can guard from the 1 through the 5. He can go up and down the line and guard everybody, and we'll guard him fairly well with his energy, with his strength, with his size. So he's shown that, and of course, he's another player. He's capable, offensively, get out in the lane and run and finish at the basket. He's capable of knocking down shots on the perimeter as well. So he's shown the ability to be versatile offensively, and he's shown the ability to be, he's a guy I can say, hey, I need to put you on this guard, and I need you to really slow him down. I'd have confidence that he could do that. I need to put you on this big, and I need you to slow him down. I have confidence he can go out there and do that as well.
We've
got time for a couple more.
For fans who are learning an entirely new roster, what's a reasonable expectation for this season?
The expectation is not going to change for me ever. To the day I retired, we're always going to have a championship vision. That's in our conference, and that's nationally. And I won't do it any other way. When we recruit these young men, I recruit them with the highest of expectations that we can be successful at the highest level. I will always be that way with the guys we recruit. Like I said, I have an amazing staff. They do a great job of finding the players I think that will fit our system. And it's our job to coach them and get them there. But I'm excited. Our vision won't change. We have a championship vision for our league and a championship vision nationally.
Is an NCAA tournament team?
I think we are, absolutely.
Coach, I remember you talking about Darius Johnson, how he really kept the culture on the squad last season. I know that he may not be a captain, but you have Pooh, who isn't, entering his last year. He's been here from the beginning. Just so, what's as far as his role, as far as keeping the culture, and how is he been kind of doing that?
Pooh does a great job of leading by example. He knows what I want because, like you say, he's been here with me all those years, and that's Elijah's been here on his second year with us as well now. And so they both were in walk-on roles, but our players are treated the same with regards to how we practice and what we do. And so Pooh and Elijah both have been great because whenever I have a drill that we're running or a certain thing that we're doing, they've seen it before, and so they can jump in front of the line and show everybody exactly how I want it. And that helps us save time as opposed to having guys I got to teach every single guy. By having those guys go out there and demonstrate right away and showing what we want, that's a sign of leadership, and they know me, especially Pooh, because he's been with me the entire time, as you just mentioned. So I'm confident every time I need to show something or say something, I know he's going to give the right answer because he's been with me long enough to know what I expect.
And then,
Last question.
Yeah, and then Carmelo Pacheco, I know, was one of the most accurate three-point shooters in the country last year. So what about his shooting stroke translates to this level as he's, the length out on the perimeter is going to get longer and the windows are going to get tighter?
No, he's a prime example of a player, as you mentioned. He was a three-point specialist. He can really shoot the basketball from behind the arc. And just having players that are capable of being on the floor like that, it just forces defenses to get strong, to get spread out. People want to, limit penetration. They want to limit threes. So when you have players like that really open the floor up, the game is a little bit easier to play 4-on-4 than 5-on-5. So if you can sag off guys in 5-on-5, you can really shrink the floor and make it very, very difficult to cover ground and get into the paint. But when there are players out there, a la Carmelo, you have to stay close enough to a player like that where it gives bigger gaps and bigger lanes to be able to create and drive off penetration. So, we're excited to have players like that on our roster.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Hey,
Coach.
guys, again, thanks for coming out. It's good seeing all of you.
See ya.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.